In this video, we will discuss the criteria for critically endangered species. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources has categorized the various taxa according to the extinction risk. These categories, there are total 9 categories, out of which 8 categories have been evaluated. 8 categories include the taxa that have been evaluated. Out of these 8 categories, 7 categories include the taxa about which we have adequate data, and these are under extinction risk. Out of these 7 categories, 3 categories are considered as threatened categories. These threatened categories include critically endangered taxa, endangered taxa, and vulnerable taxa. So the focus of this video is the criteria that are used to categorize any taxa as critically endangered. If any of the species meets these criteria, then the species or that taxa is considered to be critically endangered. There are total 5 criteria that are considered before declaring any species as critically endangered species. If the species meets any of these criteria, then it is declared as critically endangered and it has a high risk of extinction in the wild. The first criteria that is considered is reduction in population size. So, biologically speaking, we say that population is a group of individuals that can interbreed and occupy same place at the same time. If we are talking about the conservation of a species, then we define population as the number of mature individuals that have the capacity or capability to breed. The criteria for a reduction in population size has been further subdivided into sub-criteria, and if any of these sub-criteria is met, we can say that the population size of this species is reducing. So first of all, if in the past 10 years or for successive 3 generations, there has been an observed, estimated, or suspected population size reduction of more than 90%. More than 90% reduction in population size, and the causes of reduction are known, reversible, and have ceased, then we can say that the population size is reducing or has reduced over the past 10 years. Next is if there is an observed, estimated, inferred, or suspected reduction in population size, more than 80% reduction for the past 10 years or 3 generations, where the causes of reduction have not ceased or not understood and are not reversible, then it can be declared that the population size of that species is reducing. If there is more than 80% reduction in the projected or estimated population size in the next 10 years or next 3 generations, then we can declare that the population size of species is reducing and it is critically endangered. If there is more than 80% observed reduction in the population size in the past 10 years, and more than 80% population size reduction estimated reduction in population size over the next 10 years, while considering that the causes of the population reduction have not ceased, cannot be reversed, and are not understood, then the species is declared as critically endangered species. The next criteria that we need to consider while declaring a species as critically endangered is the geographic range. And while considering or evaluating the geographic range, we first need to estimate or calculate the extent of occurrence and the area of occupancy of that particular species. Extent of occurrence is basically an imaginary boundary or area in which the members of that particular species or taxa can be found, whereas the area of occupancy is the real area or actual area in which the individuals of that species or that taxa are present. If the extent of occurrence of a species is less than 100 kilometers squares and it meets of the two criteria mentioned below, then it is declared as critically endangered species. The first criteria is severely fragmented or known to exist at only a single location. Severely fragmented means that the subpopulations are relatively smaller, very small subpopulations, and the subpopulations are isolated from each other, or the individuals or populations are present on a single location. Okay, the next criteria is a continuing decline observed, inferred, or projected in any of the following. Okay, what is continuing decline? Continuing decline means that there is a continuous reduction in the population size and the geographic range of that particular species until and unless any remedial measures are taken. So this continuing decline has been observed in the past, or it has been estimated or projected for the future. So there is a decline in the extent of occurrence of that species, area of occupancy, the quality of habitat in which that the taxa occupies, the area, extent, or the quality of habitat, the number of locations or subpopulations. As we have discussed that the subpopulations are relatively smaller, okay, then along with this there is a continuous decline in the number of subpopulations that occupy a particular geographic range, and there is a reduction in the number of mature individuals. Mature individuals are those individuals that are capable of breeding. The next criteria is extreme fluctuations in any of the following: extent of occurrence, area of occupancy, number of locations or subpopulations, and number of mature individuals. Extreme fluctuations means that the distribution area of the individuals varies widely, rapidly, and very frequently. If the area of occupancy of a species is estimated to be less than 10 kilometers squares and the two of the three below mentioned criteria are met, then the species is declared as critically endangered. Area of occupancy, as we have discussed, is the actual area in which the members of a species or taxon are present. The criteria include severely fragmented or known to exist on a single location. Severe fragmentation in the population have been observed. There is a continuous decline that is observed or is expected in the future. There is a continuous decline in extent of occurrence, area of occupancy, area, extent, or quality of habitat, number of locations or subpopulations, and number of mature individuals, and extreme fluctuations have been observed or estimated to occur in the extent of occurrence of the species, area of occupancy of the species, and the number of locations or subpopulations. If the population contains less than 250 mature individuals and any of the two below mentioned criteria, then the species is declared as critically endangered species. Okay, the two criteria include if there is estimated decline of at least 25%. There is a 25% reduction in population size within the 3 years or one generation, whichever of these this duration is longer. Or if we are talking about the future or future estimates, then we can calculate or project it at a maximum of 100 years. If there is a 25% reduction in population size along with the number calculated 250 mature individuals in that population, then it can be declared as critically endangered species. The next criteria includes that there is a continuous decline that has been observed or it has been estimated in the number of mature individuals, or next further any of the following. If the subpopulations contain less than 50 mature individuals, or if one subpopulation contains at least 90% mature individuals, then it can be declared as critically endangered. If there are extreme fluctuations in the number of mature individuals in the subpopulations, along with the 250 mature individuals in the population, then it can be declared as critically endangered species. If the population size of a species is calculated and the number of mature individuals is less than 50, then the taxa is declared as critically endangered. Next is the quantitative analysis. Quantitative analysis includes any of the analysis that is used to estimate the extinction risk of a species based upon the life history, threats, habitat requirements, and the management options that are used to conserve the species. So, if the quantitative analysis shows that the probability of extinction in the wild is 50% within the 10 years or 3 generations, whichever is longer, and up to maximum 100 years. If the probability of extinction is at least 50%, then the species is declared as critically endangered.